Hello and welcome back. Today we're going to talk a little about some more features of the Raymarine Axiom multifunction displays. Specifically today we're going to talk about tracks, waypoints, and routing. Now just before we go over to the display, I want to explain the differences between these two, or three different categories. First, tracks. Tracks are a way where the system will monitor your path along the water. So in other words, in essence, you have some breadcrumbs behind the boat. So as you transverse through your different areas, a breadcrumb trail will follow behind and you'll be able to see where you have been and where you ended up. I like to use tracks for a couple of different situations. First, it is a great source for when you're dealing with an anchorage that you want to get into where it's heavily shoaled and there's a tight snaking, managing travel to get in. And so I will start a track right before I enter that area. The track will monitor all the way in. I'll stop the track when I'm actually in the anchorage, save the track, and now for future, I know that I have a path to get into this area where I know I have sufficient water. There's no obstructions or issues that I ran into. So I know now this is a viable route for me to get into a specific area. I will use that also for inlets. I'll use it for my home port marina. The area we are in has a lot of shoaling. Everything is not very deep. So you have to be careful as to how you're getting in and out. If I have a track to my home port from the entrance through the fairway to the slip, if I'm at night, visibility is poor, fog, I have a little road map to show me this is the way I know I can get in and not have any shallow issues. Another feature of tracks I use is for anchoring. If I'm anchored, I will start a track, and this sort of acts as an alarm for me. Let's say I put out 75 feet of anchor road and we have a 25-foot boat. So there's a 100-foot total of length here. When we're on anchor, the most we can swing is 100 foot in either direction. So the maximum we can move is 200 feet. I'll go into my multifunction display. I will set an alarm for a drift alarm. And I will set it for, let's say, if we have 200 feet maximum, I'll set it for 400 feet. If the boat travels past 400 feet, an alarm will go off. What this is telling me then is that very possibly my anchor is dragging because I shouldn't be able to move more than 200 feet. It gives me a heads up that something's going on. I can check and maybe reset my anchor. So that's another way I use tracks. The next topic is waypoints. Waypoints is simply a matter of putting a mark on your chart, a pinpoint, so to say. Waypoints are single marks on your chart. A way to use waypoints, I can use them for an area that I know has a danger situation. There's some shoaling that's come out into the channel that's not clearly marked on the channel. I'll put a waypoint in there. Anchorages. If I've got a place that I like to anchor, I'll put a waypoint where I like to drop the anchor, where I'm going to be spending some time. Other areas that we can use waypoints in this capacity would be to mark an entrance to a location I'm going to, or a marina, or whatever. I could place the waypoint. Waypoints have the ability for you to put different icons in. So for example, if I'm putting a waypoint in for a shoaling situation, I'll use skull and crossbones. Danger. Tells me something's wrong going on here. If it's an anchorage, I'll use an anchor. I know this is an anchorage, but there's a whole list of different icons you can use, and sort of creates a little content box for you to know what it is you're looking at. Waypoints are also used in routing, but a waypoint alone is not a route. Now, features that you have in your multifunction display, if you place or you activate a waypoint you placed on your chart, you'll have an option called Go To. What that does is that will, if you engage that, your multifunction display system will create a course in a straight line to that waypoint. So if you're out in the ocean, or you've got a long distance, or you've got a distance to go where there is no obstructions in the way, and you hit go to, then the system will create a route for you in a straight line. Bear in mind, it's a straight line, which means you have to make sure that along that straight line there are no sandbars, there's no shoaling, there's no wrecks that could cause you to strike a submerged object, there's no land. It has to be a straight line. And if you have autopilot, again, your autopilot will engage and will steer you there, but again, a straight line. The final topic we'll be talking about today is routing. Routing is a situation where you will be taking multiple waypoints, placing them on the chart, where you will create a road map, so to speak, of where you're starting and where you want to go to. This way you can set your waypoints around obstructions, around shoaling, around land, and create a road map to take you from point A to point B. Both using waypoints. Waypoint is a standalone, bear in mind. Go to is a straight line to where you're going. A route will take you from waypoint to waypoint to waypoint, and you will change your course every time you reach a waypoint to the new course heading that you need to get to point B. So that covers those three different areas, and then what we're going to do now is we're going to move the camera over to the multifunction display, and we'll show you on the multifunction display how to get to these different topics and how to access them and use them. We're now at the display, and we can begin covering how to access start tracks, place waypoints, build routes. So the first thing is, with the Raymarine system, all of the menus and options go off of the different functions you have, such as chart, radar, fish finder. So in order to begin a track or set a waypoint or a route, we need to go into the chart section. Okay, now we're up on our chart, and as you can see, we've got several routes and tracks already built in here that we use. So first we'll do the tracks. Okay, so in order to do a track, we go to this is your menu button right up here. We hit this, and now you can see you have options. Okay, so we are looking at waypoints, routes, and tracks. In order to do a track, we would go to the track settings. Here we got waypoints, routes, searches, and tracks. We put the tracks in, and here is all the tracks that we have built in. Over here you'll see start track. If you hit start track, you can see the info says info track started. We say okay. The track is now running. We'll go back to our chart. Now understand that if we were moving, what you would see is as the vessel traveled through the course, you would see these breadcrumb trails behind the vessel. Once you reach the point where you want to stop the track, we go back into the menu. We go to tracks again, hit tracks, and we hit stop track. Now we'll give you an option. Do you want to save it? If you want to save it, it'll go into the list like we have here. We can delete it, or we can cancel what we're asking for. Okay, we'll hit delete. It's going to ask you, are you sure? Yes, we are sure. The track is now stopped. We don't have any record of it. And we're back to the chart. Now I'm going to just scroll out here, and we'll go over. I'll just show you, as I was saying, benefits or how I use tracks. Let me just zoom in here a little bit. Okay, now, this is a track that I ran. It's an anchorage that we like to go to. It's called Governor's Cut. And as you can see, there is a lot of shoaling throughout the area to get to this anchorage. We're going to talk about waypoints in a minute, but here's an example of a waypoint. I put a waypoint in, I put an anchor that tells me that's a place where I want to anchor. So I began the track out here in plenty of water. I had already obviously planned my route in. Now we came in nice and easy, and we made a track, and this is the path that we took. Now I've saved that track knowing that in the future I know I've traveled through here and I've had no problems getting in and out, so I've got my little road map to get me from deep water to my anchorage with no issues whatsoever. So that's one way to use a track. We'll go back, we hit the home button here, takes us back to our boat. Now, waypoints. Placing a waypoint is simply nothing more than putting a mark on the chart, and now you have these options. Place waypoint, okay? It also gives you more options. If you have one, you can measure it, whatever, calculate distance and drift. So once again, we'll put our waypoint in, we'll place the waypoint there. As I said, you have all kinds of options. These are the main options I use, so we're just going to use the red dot on this one. We're going to say okay, and now we have a waypoint there. That is simply how you place a waypoint on the chart plotter. We talked about waypoints and go-to earlier, so I'm just going to give you an example of waypoints and go-to before we build routes. So I'm going to scroll out here. Again, bear in mind, our vessel is here, we're in dock, we're at port. And I'm going to pick a waypoint right over here. Okay, now it says go-to. You have to be very cautious when you're using waypoints and go-to because it's going to take you in a straight line. Had I taken this course, as you can see, we'll zoom out a little bit here. This is going to take me over land. It's taking me over 1 foot of water. It's taking me over land again. And I'm ending up here. So had I done this somewhere right around here, we would come to a screeching halt because we draw 5 feet and right there is 3 feet. I'm sorry, 1 foot. So right about here, we would have come to a halt and said what happened. So again, when you're dealing with a go-to situation, it's a great function, very easy, gives you a straight line. You just have to be sure that when you use this function, there is nothing along the way that can cause a problem for you. In order to stop this, we hit, if you can see up here, it says stop navigation. We hit that and it takes it away. Okay, now we're going to build a route. I like to create routes where I will take pretty much point A to point B and I will rough it out putting multiple waypoints in, and then I'll show you how I adjust it afterwards. So let us say we're going to start right here. We hit build route. That places a green flag with a marker. That's our first waypoint on the route. So now what I'm going to do is we just put place waypoint, place waypoint, and as you see, we're building this out and we're going to end up over here. Place waypoint. Up here we have finish build route. We have options, finish build route or undo. We hit finish the route. It's now route 35 is what it's called. We can go in and change the names of that later on. We're going to hit exit. And now here is route 35 on our screen. So now I've roughed this out, but as you can see, I place this, and again, I've got some shoaling here that I'm taking myself over. Okay, we need to avoid that. So very simply, I'm going to look at the area and I'm going to move my waypoints. Okay, if we go to more options now, you'll see move. That activates this particular waypoint and allows me to now move it to where I want it to be. So if I move it over here, and then I say save. Whoop, see now what happened? I hit that and it moved it over. So let's move it again. Move that. Let's get that back over here. Touchscreens are very sensitive. That's one of the, there's a lot of pluses, but that's a minus. So hit save. Now we've moved that waypoint. So as I go along there, I will look at all the different areas that I have and make adjustments. Now, let's just say I need to add a waypoint. I simply go to this route, I hit more options, and I have insert waypoint. Now it just gave me another waypoint. Okay, we don't need it. We hit undo, we take it away. That's how you build a route. Now, when you're using routes for when you're traveling, if you have autopilot, you can engage your autopilot where it will follow this route, and every time it hits a waypoint, it'll notify you that you've reached the waypoint. Do you want to move to the next waypoint? You hit OK, and the ship will change its course and move to the next waypoint on the course heading you have. So that's tracks, that's waypoints, and that's routes. Now, again, you've seen me work with this on my touchscreen. This particular model is a touchscreen model. But whether you have a touchscreen or not, all of these units have the ability to do it manually. So you've seen me work with the menu here. It comes up. I can go waypoints, go to, whatever I need to go to here. But I also can go over to my display screen, my manual screen. You see the same 3 lines here. If I hit that, up comes the same menu for me. I can utilize that. If I want to move a waypoint or adjust a waypoint, I can adjust it by using this dial here. Okay, hit the waypoint, and you can make your adjustments using the manual screen. If I hit the center button, there's all my adjustments. If I hit more information, I'm going to move it. That's now moved, and I can move this any way I want. This lets me move it to the left. This makes me move it to the right. And so I can do the same things I can do with the touchscreen manually. If you do not have a touchscreen, all of these functions are available, but you would utilize your screen, your manual buttons in order to do that. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you found it informative and helpful for you to use your Raymarine Axiom multifunction display. As always, if you have any questions, please reach out to us at paul@theboatingschoolnj.com. Please subscribe to our YouTube. Please like us, and always send us in comments as to what you'd like to see so we can give you more videos on how to be a safe and competent boater out there. Thank you, and have a great day.